Hi, in this session we're going to learn about UI collection views. UI collection views are ways that we can be able to lay out our view in a very systematic fashion, much like a table view. The difference is that they're laid out in usually squares or other shapes throughout the view controller. The first thing we're going to do is tell our view controller what data source and delegates it needs to implement. UI collection view has a data source and a UI collection view delegate, just like a UI table view. However, there's one difference. It has a flow layout as well. The flow layout is what controls the way that the collection view is laid out overall. Now that we've implemented that, we can go through and start creating our collection view. The first thing we need to do is create a UI collection view flow layout. For our purposes, we're going to call it VFL. We'll set that equal to UI collection view flow layout. We'll allocate it and initialize it. Next, we'll need to create our UI collection view. We'll create our collection view, call it CV, and then set it equal to a UI collection view, allocate it, and we're going to initialize it with a frame. We'll set it to CG rect make. In order to set the frame for it, we'll set it at 0 and 20 so that it's below the status bar. We'll set the width to be self.view.frame.size.width, and we'll set the height to the height of the view minus 20 so that it takes up the whole thing. We also need to set our collection view flow layout. Now that we've initialized it, we need to tell our collection view that this view controller is going to be receiving the messages from the delegate. We also need to tell our collection view that this view controller is providing all of the information for the data source. Then we need to add our collection view to the subview of our self.viewer, the subview of this view controller. There's one more thing we need to do that's a little bit different from a table view. With a table view, you can also do this, but with a collection view, you need to register a class for your collection view. For this tutorial, we're just going to use the regular UI collection view cell. So we set CV register class for cell with reuse identifier. The class is the UI collection view cell class, and the identifier today will just be cell. It's very basic, but it gets the job done for us. Next, we need to go through and implement the data source for the collection view. We do this by typing in collection view, and then we can see that there's a cell for row at index path, just like a table view. We create a UI collection view cell, call it cell, and then we say collection view, and we tell it to dequeue the reusable cell with the identifier and the index path. So the identifier we specified was cell, and the index path is the index path passed into this method. Now for our purposes, to be able to see it, we want to set the background color. We're just going to set it to a green color so it stands out. And then we need to return our cell. The next thing we need to do is specify the number of items in each section. So we're going to get our collection view and we're going to find our number of items in each section. For this case, we're going to just say that we're going to return 10. The next thing we need to do, it has to do with the collection view flow layout. So with the collection view, we need to be able to set the layout and the size for each item. As we go through, you can see that there's a collection view layout size for item index path layout. That's the minimum spacing. There's many size for footer, size for Size for item and index path. That's what we want. We want to have two columns of equal sized cells in this. So we're going to return a CG size make with a width of self.view.frame.size.width divided by 2, so that it's that whole width divided by 2, so we can have them side by side. And then we want a minus 20, so we can be able to put it within that same area. We're going to set it with a static height of 200 for this tutorial. The next thing we need to do is we're going to set some edge insets. So again, we do collection view, and this time we want to do the layout as well, but now we want to do the edge insets. You can see with this function it is expecting edge insets for a return. So we're going to do a return UI edge insets make. We're going to set to top of 10, left of 10, bottom of 10, and we're going to do a right of 5, just so that we have a nice even spacing. And then we're going to build and run our application. If everything's built right, we can see that we now have a collection view. We have some spacing that we can deal with, but you can see that it's laid out in two columns, which is really nice. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to implement one item from the collection view delegate, and that's the didSelect item at index path. And we're just going to print out to our console the index path of whatever item was touched. This way we can be able to see how the layout works. So if I tap the top left item, you can see that it pops up in the console a path of 0, 0. If I tap the top right, it's 0, 1. So this is our section 0, item 0 in the top left, and section 0, item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. As we scroll down, we can see all of it. This has been a brief tutorial and a basic tutorial on how to set up a collection view. There's many more things that you can do with a collection view, like creating your own custom collection view cell and doing many other things. But this was just a basic tutorial.